Whew, and it seems like Cloud9, they're going to keep on being the news, whether it's with TenZ or their female Valorant roster, guys. Some drama we broke down just yesterday. If you want to check out that video about the initial situation, that situation is still ongoing, and likely we will probably talk about in the coming days for a third part, as Cloud9 White have yet to officially respond on what initially was actually one of their members, Mel, accusing a male team, Insight GG, of leaking VODs to other female teams. Now, keep in mind the wording there, because it seems ever since she accused them of leaking VODs, well, it wasn't actually VODs. It maybe was a clip of an ace alongside a screenshot of a scoreboard, as to which one of those Insight members did respond to, saying he spoke to Mel and cleared things up about exactly what did go down, and that he never leaked a VOD and never has. But now it's Insight still wanting a response from Cloud9 White on the situation, and unfortunately so, it seems their female roster, remember, it was their male roster accused of leaking VODs, but apparently harassment from the community was sent to both the male roster and, unfortunately, also the female roster, to which has now actually left the organization. I want to say it seems, based on responses, it seems the female roster is actually siding with Mel, so I'm not sure they actually left Insight due directly to the harassment, but more so to the image now attached to Insight GG. That's where I'm coming from. You guys, of course, can think differently, but here's what Insight had to say about their female roster now leaving, despite their male roster being the ones accused. Stating, due to the recent accusations against Insight's male team, our female roster has decided to part ways with Insight. Since this incident, both of Insight's rosters have been getting harassed by the Valorant community. We deeply value the competitive integrity across all of esports and feel that this situation has been unfair to our players. We wish that the situation would have been handled differently and behind closed doors rather than being taken to social media immediately. At this time, we are awaiting a statement from Cloud9. We wish the best up to the Insight White team, that being their female lineup, on their future endeavors. And again, based on personal interactions, it seems that female team, yes, did receive harassment, but decided to part ways with Insight GG, and seems to also be teaming up, or at least agreeing with Mel's side of things, if Insight GG's male roster is found guilty, which it seems they partially are. I think Insight's main response now is clarification of, hey, we didn't leak a VOD. It was a short clip and a screenshot of a scoreboard, which you talked with one of our players about and then waited a couple of days to post your clarification of the accusation. That to me is where the problem lies with Cloud9 Mel, who now has issued her statement and her partial apology. Why I call it a partial apology is because she says TLDR, it's all good, but if you clearly read her statement, it's clearly not all good. So here's that. As she said, given the statement shared for the Insight team and player, I need to clarify what has transpired in private regarding the allegations made in my initial tweets. I received warning from an individual that several women's teams received key information about Cloud9 White from our scrim with Insight. Some, but not all, of this information was shared in a player's tweet apology. The player acknowledges sharing an unedited 68-second clip of his ace and a scoreboard screenshot was an oversight on his part. The parties these details were shared with, while potentially the player's friends, also having to be our likely opponents in 2 weeks. To our knowledge, it was shared with 3 individuals across 2 teams. More importantly, significant information was left out of the apology, that information being brought to Insight's attention that neither player nor team has been willing to address publicly. We possess evidence of the same players sharing map-specific tendencies to our upcoming opponents in text form, unprompted by them. The message suggests how to go about counter-striding us on a particular map. It would be a stretch to suggest these messages were also a byproduct of inexperience, as the player highlighted in his apology. Further, the Insight player admitted to us that another player reached out to him requesting to also receive a copy of our scrim VOD. The Insight player has chosen to remain silent on which individual reached out to them, despite the player undermining competitive integrity with this request. Insight explained to Cloud9 that their management did try to determine this information, but the player did not want to share the player's identity, which they actually shared them with. Cloud9 has also attempted to clarify how much, if any, additional information may have been received by other teams, and is awaiting responses from those believed to have been involved. Further, there is no animosity between myself and the female Insight team who chose to leave the organization. We already spoke at length in private to discuss the situation. I wish nothing but the best for former Insight White, and we are excited to play each other in the future. All of this said, I admit fault here too. I should have waited until my organization conducted a full internal investigation and allowed other orgs to come forward with their findings. I acted hastily in this scenario and regret using my platform in this manner. This tweet was uncharacteristic of me, and I admit it was irresponsible making it in the heat of the moment. I apologize to those who were affected by comments, and I'll do better in the future. I hope this statement clarifies how things have been or are going and being handled in private, and explains why this is more serious than simply an inexperienced mistake as the player and team claimed. I will not speak about this matter any further. And that's just like, whoa. I mean, a loaded statement. Insight says they're waiting for an official response from Cloud9 White, and apparently there was no VOD. Then Mel comes out and says, well, there was that 68-second clip and a screenshot of the scoreboard, and apparently being in contact with potential future competition for Cloud9 White. She also says they have the evidence for all this, which is not going to be posted, and hopefully Cloud9 White with this investigation is compiling all of that together, to which now Insight's coach Nova has also responded, calling a lot of this post complete BS, saying there was no VOD, also further explaining why their player had apparently been in contact and did not want to reveal the name of a player they were in contact with to ruin her career.
The VOD to 2 women teams. Now obviously when you tweet something like this, I would hope there is solid proof and you got screenshots and you have the VODs that were sent. In this case, instantly when we joined that a call with her, this was not the case at all. They had no evidence. They haven't even contacted the teams yet, and she just puts this out on the internet. Okay, now I have influencer friends in real life. That's public information. You guys can go find that if you know who I am. You can find that on your own time. But before you post anything, it is common knowledge to know what your viewer base is like and how your fans are going to react. Okay, this is obviously when you add a whole organization as a whole with your influence and your following, what do you think is going to happen in the end, right? Whether good or bad, that organization as a whole is going to get hate or love, okay, with your viewership. In this case, the whole organization, not just the female roster or the male roster, the female roster got hate, the staff got hate. Everyone on Insight has received some sort of DM or harassment, okay? Not only did you tweet 1, but you decided to tweet 2, okay? You said literally scrimmed them for the first time yesterday and they got the nerve to leak VODs. What is wrong with you people? First of all, again, with this tweet, there is no evidence, okay? You've never once gotten a piece of evidence of a VOD being sent. You were using words that were being said and putting them into your own that they were actually VODs when, we'll get into this later, but you stated that you heard from female teams that stuff was getting leaked, right? And no one ever said VODs, okay?
And a bit further of an explanation, a 23-minute video, if you guys want to go check that out, about some of the holes in both sides. Clearly, both sides could have handled this much, much better. It was Mel taking quickly to Twitter, calling this a leaking of VODs to a couple female teams, of which we have not seen that evidence. And so do you trust her? Yes, she says she possesses the evidence. We'll wait for an investigation. She says she's not going to speak on this any further. And now we have Insight and their coach coming out and saying, hey, we had a player contact Mel. There was no VOD leaked. There was that clip and there was that screenshot of a scoreboard. And they do go into further details about, whether or not that player was prompted from other players to send screenshots or to send any VOD material from Cloud9 White in their matchup against them. I think we got to leave this for a Cloud9 White official post, as Insight is waiting for as well. It's a very, very clearly complex matter, and I think both sides very much so could have handled this a lot better behind closed doors. This is why when a lot of teams go back and forth, when Riot Games and 100 Thieves go back and forth, they have a post here and there, and then all of a sudden it disappears because they're like, hey, this is just better to talk about this in private, because all of a sudden you get these kickings up. If I'm covering it, I'm not going to see everything. So, and you guys know as well on Twitter, you're only going to see probably one side, maybe two sides of a multi-side story. And so, yes, we will wait and see what Cloud9 White has to say. I do think a response is probably necessary, especially now with Insight's female roster leaving the organization and the primary accusation still standing. And now we have Cloud9 Mel saying they have additional evidence of wrongdoing. We will wait and see what happens next. What do you guys think is happening, huh? Crazy days, eh? All right, until next time, you take care of yourselves. All right, drink up. I'll see you back here sometime soon. Okay, bye.